What are the big issues affecting voters here in Saskatchewan?
Well, I think that the homelessness during winter is atrocious.
Kind of torn. I said I would never vote strategically, but I think I might this time. Normally I would go NDP, but you know what? No, I'm not going to vote strategically. I'm just going to vote NDP.
Who are you running for?
I'm running for the NDP in the Regina Louvain riding this year.
What are you hearing at the door? Because the polls are saying the NDP are not really performing well. If you were to go to the rodeo tonight and you can only bring one of the major party leaders, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, who would you bring with you to the rodeo?
Oh my goodness.
We've made it to the heart of the prairies. We're in Regina, Saskatchewan. Here, the pace of life is slow. The landscape is flat, and the political climate is blue. In fact, in the last election, the last federal election, every riding went blue. But will that be the case this time around? Well, we're gonna find out. Have you decided who you're gonna be voting for on election day?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I do.
Do you feel comfortable sharing with us?
I will be voting Liberal.
Okay.
And mainly because I don't necessarily agree with everything that they do, but I still feel like I have a voice with them. And people don't understand the bigger picture with voting for conservative government. And
What is that bigger picture?
I don't have time for the bigger picture. But the bigger picture is look at America, look at the Dutch, look at their crime rates, look at how much they spend on social services. The more you put into funding programs, the better society is.
Do you feel like you're in the minority in this province? Because in the last election, all the writings went to the Conservatives.
Yeah, it's because of our demographics, though. So we have a lot of conservatives, a lot of rural thinking. But unfortunately, I don't have time for any more because I am on break.
You gotta get to work. Well, I don't want you to lose your job because in this economy right now, everybody needs to hold on to their job.
Yeah.
So thank you for speaking with me.
I'm 82 and I'm not
You're
working.
82.
I'm not working this year.
What's your secret, by the way?
A good life, I guess.
Oh, who's keeping you happy?
I am separated.
And that's sometimes the key to happiness.
I don't know. I don't know. There's all kinds of other relationships you can work on, you know.
Oh, that's also very true.
Absolutely. I work with my church and with youth and feed the hungry. There's a fair amount of homeless in Regina.
Yeah, what are the big issues affecting voters here in Saskatchewan?
Well, I think that the homelessness during winter is atrocious. There's only 5 centers that are open. They range from 70 seating tables, to maybe 200. And it's worse in Saskatoon. I was born there. And where they only have, I think, 3 warming centers, one of which is the basement of a church. And so that's a good place to be.
So homelessness is a big issue in this province.
It is, because when rents go up to $1,500 for one person, your minimum wage, I believe, is between 13 and 17 dollars an hour. I'm not quite sure, but because I was a teacher, so I never worked for minimum wage, I guess. Well, no, I sold shoes in 1968 for $2 an hour.
Oh, wow. You remember?
Yeah, Sears.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So homelessness is the big issue here in the province. What other issues are top of mind for folks who live here?
I think that taxes in housing, when young people want to buy a house or a condo, the taxes are atrocious. I mean, when you think of having to pay taxes. I mean, I own my own condo. Luckily, my taxes went down, and
Oh, you're very lucky.
Yeah, well, the condo is.
You might have to buy us lunch.
60.
You might have to buy us lunch.
Oh, hey, I just had lunch.
Thanks for the invite. But as you were saying,
well, and when taxes go down, which is the northern part of the town, of the city, then that's lucky for us because our taxes are lower than $100 a month.
so cost of living is a big thing here.
Absolutely, and people, our population is doing good. I remember when it was lower than $1 million, and now it's going into $2 million. But where are the jobs? Create jobs. So I think that when I vote, I'm voting for the Prime Minister that's going to be encouraging the jobs and encouraging the well-being of people, families.
And who was that in your opinion?
Well, I used to be liberal with my family were farmers, but I became conservative in the last 10 years.
So you're leaning towards Pierre Poilievre. You're going to vote for Pierre Poilievre.
Have done already.
Oh, right. Listen, you said it with your full chest.
I'm sorry?
You said it with your full chest.
Well, absolutely. I mean, a lot of us went to pre-voting ahead of time because, again, the distances are bigger in Saskatchewan, and so it's easier to get into voting early.
Well, I mean, last election, all the ridings in Saskatchewan went to the Conservatives. Do you think that's going to be the same thing this election?
Hey, maybe if I'm lucky.
Yeah. What makes this province, I guess, lean conservative, in your opinion?
Well, the number of churches and the number of separate schools, separate means Chinese, Jewish, Muslim, Catholic, full gospel, all these are separate schools, and we have a university as well, the FSIN. All of these people are hanging on to their morals, they're hanging on to their belief system.
And that might help sway them in the direction of voting
I think
Conservative.
so, because this thing of bringing bringing Canada into such debt is not a good thing. We don't want a recession. Why? The prices are already very high. Why would we vote for what happened to the Liberals? They put everything in debt. Everybody's in debt. Carney included. He's going into debt more and more.
You don't like him, it doesn't seem.
Well, I mean, I don't like the fact that his policies are following Trudeau's, you know? And so, even though I studied liberalism in university, and I understand now that the conservative way is better. I do.
A few questions for you, totally unrelated to all of this. If you were to go to the rodeo tonight, and you could only bring one of the main three party leaders, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, who would you bring?
Well, I'd bring Andrew Scheer because he's from Regina.
I know, but he's not. He's not one of the main party leaders.
Poilievre.
Okay,
Yeah.
you do Poilievre,
Absolutely.
and would you put him on the bull?
I don't know what that is. So
The bull. You know where you ride the bull at the rodeo.
Okay, I don't go to rodeos.
Okay. You're from Saskatchewan. You never been to a rodeo?
No, when I taught in Calgary, so yes, I went to rodeos in Calgary.
Okay. And lastly, we're heading to Montreal next. What are 3 words you would use to describe people from Montreal?
Montréal, peut-être séparatiste,
Separatist?
et probablement pauvre,
In English, please.
poor,
Oh.
separatist, quite poor, and they drive terrible in Montreal.
You don't like Montreal.
I would never drive there.
Okay.
I took buses when I was there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey Siri, play the Ghostbusters theme song.
Do you have a dance to go with it?
Oh. We left our guns back at the place. You must have heard of the Ghostbusters.
Oh, of course.
There it is. That's it.
So you guys are cleaning.
There, he has the dance.
I was trying to see what the Regina dance is like.
We don't have one.
How are you guys feeling? Less than, just like a few days to go until election day.
Well, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
What do you want to see happen?
Change. Change, for sure.
Change in which direction, though?
I don't know. We need something different. We need a different government in power.
Have you decided who you're going to vote for?
I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't like to voice
don't-
it on.
No, that's okay. But in terms of, I get the issues though that are, that are really affecting people who live here in Saskatchewan. What are the big issues?
The big issues here in Saskatchewan, I would say homelessness, addiction, available housing. There's lots. Those are the main ones.
When I asked you about the change, you definitely seemed frustrated. I don't know. I was just getting a little bit of that sense. Maybe that's the wrong word, but it sounded like you're just frustrated with the current situation.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done, and who's to say who's the right person to do it? I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Who are you running for?
I'm running for the NDP in the Regina Louvain riding this year.
Okay, and what are you hearing at the door? Because the polls are saying the NDP are not really performing well.
So I'll kind of give you a quote from the founder of the NDP, polls are what you tie dogs to.
Oh,
So
wow.
what I'm getting from the doors is this. I'll digress a little bit. So when we look at polls and the numbers, roughly 300 people are called out of 40,000 people
Yeah.
in most polls. So how is that indicative or reflective of what the majority is actually thinking, right? So a lot of the responses I get are mixed, of course, right? I get people talking about vote splitting, and the Liberals are on a roll across the country right now. But when we look at Saskatchewan, which is it's an anomaly at best, right?
It's interesting because, I mean, all the seats in the last election went to the Conservatives.
Correct. So, and when we look at the numbers from the last elections, when we look at, say, Regina Louvain, Tria, a very good friend of mine, was a candidate previously, and she lost roughly by a little over 5,000 votes. So when we look at the Liberal candidate at the time, which had a little over 5,000 votes, would have pushed her over the top.
So basically, you're saying there are more left-leaning voters.
I wouldn't say that as much as progressive voices.
Okay.
So for sure, there's a lot more progressive voices in the riding than the polls are showing, right?
But there's a vote split that happens on the left.
Correct.
Between the Liberals and the NDP.
Center and the left. I would say the center and the left kind of a thing, right? So when we take the time and actually hit the doors, like you had asked that question about actually talking, what am I hearing? So to be honest with you, I'd say out of probably 10 days of door knocking, of those 10 days, 7 of those days, I'm getting incredible feedback. Hey, it's great you're here at the door today. I've been wanting to meet you and talk to you a little bit. So, and then of course, then they're saying, yeah, you've got my vote, Ray. It's great that you came by. Thank you. I mean, yesterday is a great example. I stopped by a house. 2 teachers live there, and one of them is a friend of mine from Southie at the high school where I coached in the community there for 14 years for the football team.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and even he was a little bit undecided. If we look at the last provincial election, there was a big concern around funding for education in this province, right? It was a huge concern because we had seen cut after cut after cut provincially. So I was talking with him, and by the time I was done, he said, Ray, you've got my vote. You're making sense. Because when we stand on our principles and what we believe in, okay, we shouldn't have to be pushed away from that when it comes to our political alignments.
Right.
One party shouldn't be pushing me away out of fear or anger. We should be set in stone in regards to that particular party, that we believe in their values, their core values. That doesn't change. And with the NDP, of course, we know that we're here for people.
Do people in Saskatchewan like Jagmeet Singh as the leader of the NDP?
You know what? It's kind of mixed at the door. I mean, a lot of people don't really understand some of the other cultures that we have in this country, right? And I've found myself, when I've taken the time to really understand the Sikh community, the Hindu community, the Métis, the First Nation, and once we start exploring those things and opening up our minds, you embrace it. You embrace all those different cultures.
In terms of like issues here in Saskatchewan, and we can walk and talk a little bit.
Sure.
What are the big issues affecting people here in Saskatchewan?
Well, I mean, there's a commonality across the country right now.
Yeah.
We've heard politicians talk about healthcare. We've heard them talk about education. We've heard them talk about the economy. We've heard them talk about doctors, nurses. These aren't new issues. These are issues that we've been hearing brought up by politicians for over 20 years, and yet they're still not fixed. So when we hear about tariffs and we hear about what's going on south of the border, that wouldn't be as much of a concern if those 20 years of broken promises had been followed through on and they actually fixed the issues that they've campaigned on.
So, I mean, the Liberals have been in power across, federally,
Yes.
right, for the last 10 years. So, I mean, it sounds like you think, well, you're running for the NDP, so clearly you want to see a change.
Absolutely. And you know what? And a lot of people at the doors want to see a change. And earlier in our conversation, we talked about the vote splitting, right? And that's kind of driven by fear, as well as poll numbers that we're seeing come out. And what I tell people at the door is, again, stand on your principles. If you want change, stick by them. Stick by your principles. Change will come. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. and also convincing some people, right? I've talked to some people at the doorsteps that are, friends of mine, and they're conservative, and they've traditionally voted that way. But them knowing who I am and what I'm capable of when it comes to getting things done as an individual, not necessarily on a grand scale as a MP, but they know what I'm capable of. They know the passion that I bring, and that passion and compassion has brought them to vote for me.
I'm going to ask you a real question. Yeah. It's no secret that, Jagmeet Singh has been pretty vocal. Like, it doesn't seem like he's running to be prime minister. He's kind of running, and he said, like, already that if you don't want a liberal majority government, vote NDP, and vice versa. If you don't want a conservative majority government, vote NDP. For you, as a resident here in Saskatchewan, if this is a race between Pierre Poilievre becoming prime minister or Mark Carney, who would you prefer?
Well, to be quite frank with you, I always prefer progressive voice. So when it comes to keeping leaders in check, we need individuals like myself that are members of the NDP to stand up for people and not corporations that are driven by profits only. People are what hold this country together and what continue to spur it into growth and protect us against what we're potentially going to see coming in from the south with the tariffs, with people losing their jobs in the automotive industry. And I think it was, I'm trying to think the rough number, it was around like 2 million people in this country rely on this trade agreement that are locked into it. So when it comes down to looking at this leader or that, what we need is someone there to stand up against both the Conservatives and the Liberals, which have both formed government over the last 20 years. And when we don't have an NDP voice there to keep them in check and keep them on track, we have issues. Right now, what we saw was we got dental care started for senior citizens. That's a first. But it's not something that's not unheard of. It should have been part of healthcare years ago. And now we're seeing it brought back to the forefront, and people are getting a service delivered to them. I'm happy that grandparents are able now to get their dentures fixed and not have to worry about what kind of food am I going to buy because my dentures don't work that I can actually eat. So it's going to help them. We can also look at pharmacare getting started. It's coming here. It's on its way. Diabetes medication and supplies won't cost anything. A lot of people in this country suffer from diabetes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that a Canadian discovery? How to use that particular thing to help people out. So when we have an NDP voice in there, we get things done. At best, I hope that all of the current seats return for the NDP, and we pick up a few to actually hold them accountable and keep them on track.
All right, we'll see what happens on Election Day. Thanks so much for talking with us. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can we ask you a really fun question, actually? The first one is, our next stop is going to be in Montreal. So we'd love to know from you, what are 3 words you would use to describe people from Montreal?
Well, there's only a little bit of French that I know. Enchanté, mademoiselle. Merci beaucoup. So French-wise, I would say I've been to Montreal once. I rode the train through there, and I found it to be a beautiful, beautiful place.
So beautiful as well.
Incredibly beautiful, multicultural. Absolutely. And very, very true to their culture, for sure.
All
Absolutely true to their culture there.
Awesome. And last question, if you were to go to the rodeo tonight and you can only bring one of the major party leaders with you, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, who would you bring?
Well, of course I'd bring Jagmeet Singh.
Would you put him on the horse?
No, bull.
On the bull, sorry. Excuse
bull
me.
riding.
You put him on the bull
riding? You know what? I honestly think he could deal with it, too.
Oh, we'll have to see.
I'm feeling pretty good. I got my voter's card ready, sitting on my counter at home. I'm ready to go on Monday.
Who are you leaning towards?
I'm kind of torn. I said I would never vote strategically, but I think I might this time. Normally I would go NDP, but you know what? No, I'm not going to vote strategically. I'm just going to vote NDP.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. You made that decision right here.
Yeah, well, I've been on the fence about it, and I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I think I'm just going to vote for who I believe in. Yeah.
Even though, when I look at the stats, in the last election, all the ridings here in Saskatchewan went to the Conservatives.
Oh, yeah. That's, and boy, do I know that. I'm from small town Saskatchewan originally, so...
Why is the province so conservative?
I'm not sure why exactly. but it always has been. I've been ever since I can remember.
What would you say are the top issues facing people in this province?
I think a lot of people are concerned with oil and gas, and I hear a lot of people talking about carbon taxes, which I don't really care about. I think it's a good thing, but yeah, that's off the top of my head what I can think of.
So resources are really important here.
I think so.
Why?
You know what? I couldn't tell you.
What do people say about oil and gas?
Oh, it's I don't know. It's I usually turn my brain off just because I know I'm gonna either hear something racist or some sort of bigoted comment or something like that. It's just small town stuff.
Got it. We are in Regina. We're wondering, what do you guys do here for fun?
Well, I like to ride my bicycle here,
Okay.
and fishing, hunting, all that stuff. Yeah.
Where do you fish?
You can fish out at Long Lake there.
Yeah.
In my hometown, I'm from Oxbow, Saskatchewan originally. We fish at the Alameda Dam.
But here in the city, like, what do people do for fun here in Regina?
Oh, not too much. It's
You
kind
guys
of
don't have fun?
It's a bit of a boring city, to tell you the truth. If I'm being completely honest.
Thank you so much. You gonna vote?
I did already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did you vote for?
Do I need to?
Or who do you want to see become prime minister?
Well, I vote the blue one.
For Pierre?
Yeah.
Yeah. And why?
For a change.
You think it's time for a change?
Yeah.
Why?
What the government right now, right? So hopefully it's for a good.
Well, tell me a little bit more about what was your thought process behind it.
I don't want to comment really regarding politics, because I don't want to say anything. Maybe I say that's really good on both sides. So
Yeah. Do you have any? What are the big concerns facing people here in Saskatchewan?
right now, well, nothing to worry about that right now. Well, yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of people around, like
Homelessness.
yeah,
We've been hearing that's a big issue here.
yes, that's the thing.
What else? What else are the big issues facing people who live here?
Well, that's the thing, and also the guys who are going around like high and drugs.
Is affordability a big issue?
A little bit though.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
No, okay, thank you.
May I get your name?
Millet.
Millet?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. We're heading to Montreal next.
Sorry?
We're heading to Montreal next.
Montreal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have 3 words to describe people from Montreal?
Oh, I have auntie over there. I
Yeah.
have cousin and I have family over there. It's a nice place though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 words to describe them.
Yeah. What are 3 words you would use to describe people from Montreal?
Oh, they are nice,
Nice.
kind, and
Kind.
yeah,
One more.
it's a beautiful
Aw,
place as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and you have a lot of place that you can visit though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there last 13 years ago.
Awesome. Obviously, you're in Regina. We're in Regina, and so people do go to the rodeo sometimes.
Yeah.
If you were to go to the rodeo tonight, and you could only bring one of the major party leaders, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, who would you bring with you to the rodeo?
Oh my goodness. Did I already mention why I vote? So yeah, he's the one.
You'd bring Pierre.
Yeah.
Would you dance with him?
Oh, maybe.
Ocho Ocho?
Ocho Ocho. Yeah.
What's the Ocho Ocho?
Oh, it's one of the popular song back home. So yeah.
Is there a dance to it?
Yeah.
Is there a dance to the Ocho Ocho?
Yeah, why
How
not?
does it look?
Oh, no, I'm not really good on dancing.
Okay.
Freedom Lumpia. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so
you.
much. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm hoping the Liberals get in, so.
Yeah. Why the Liberals?
Because it's not Pierre Poilievre.
You're not a fan of his?
Not really, no.
Why not?
Just his, I'm not a fan of his policies. I think they're a little backwards. Yeah.
Which is interesting because we were looking at the map for the last election
Yes,
and
we're
all the
very
writings.
Conservative.
You guys are more conservative than
province.
Alberta.
Yeah.
People don't know that.
Yeah. Although our last provincial election, we had the NDP was like really close to beating the Conservatives, but yeah.
But federally, you guys vote conservative here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it about Mark Carney that you like?
Well, he's an economist, so he's actually educated, so that's always nice.
Shots fired. You know, we're also trying to get a sense of like, what are the big issues affecting people who live in Saskatchewan?
Well, I mean, you hear about the canola and, like, of course, like farming and stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't really affect me, but obviously that affects a lot of people's livelihoods.
Agriculture's
here.
huge?
Yeah, definitely.
And what's like the sentiment? Like, what are they looking for? What do they want done?
Honestly, I'm not exactly sure,
Okay.
but I'm sure that there's concerns about the tariffs and stuff. And then we have like the potash and all that stuff as well. So
resources are huge here.
Resources, yeah.
Resource development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In terms of like your friend circle, where are they leaning? What are you hearing?
Liberal, yeah.
Liberal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people would vote, I think, NDP, but just because of the split vote, people are going with Liberal.
Thank you so much for that insight.
Yeah.
Oh, last question. We know we're in the prairies and you guys have some rodeos here sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you were to go to a rodeo tonight, but you could only bring one of the major federal party leaders, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, who would you bring to the rodeo?
I would bring Jagmeet, honestly. He's so fun.
Yeah? Would you put him on the bull?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's BG, and I want to know, what do you think about what you just watched? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below, but also make sure to check out even more great content like this video and this video over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the Brandon Gonez Show, do so right now by clicking this button right here.